Everyone in the village laughed when a proud wife humiliated her quiet husband in public. She called him a failure, a man with nothing to offer. But what she didn't know was that the same man she shamed before the whole market carried a secret so deep, when it was finally revealed, the entire village wept. This is the story of wife humiliated husband in public, but his secret left the entire village in tears. In the small village of Umuaka, there lived a quiet man named Chike and his wife, Adiz. Chike was humble, hard-working, and never raised his voice. He was known for fixing people's roofs and helping neighbors without expecting a reward. But his wife, Adiz, was proud and outspoken. She often mocked Chike for his simple ways and his old, torn clothes. To Adiz, her husband's gentleness looked like weakness. She often wished he were like other men, loud, flashy, and proud. The villagers admired Chike for his patience, but Adiz thought he was a disgrace. She had no idea that behind his silence lay a secret that would one day shake the entire village. One sunny afternoon, the village market was full of life. Women were selling food, children were playing, and traders were shouting their prices. Chike came to deliver a repaired basket to a customer when Adiz saw him wearing his patched shirt. Her face burned with embarrassment. She shouted at him in front of everyone, "Must you dress like a beggar, Chike? Can't you act like a real man?" The crowd went silent. Chike looked down, his face calm, his hands still holding the basket. The people stared in disbelief. They couldn't believe a wife would speak to her husband that way in public. After that incident, the story spread like wildfire. By evening, everyone in Umuaka had heard how Adiz had humiliated her husband. Some people laughed, others were angry, and the elders shook their heads. "A woman who mocks her husband mocks her own home," one old man said. But Chike said nothing. He went about his work as if nothing happened. Even when people pitied him or tried to comfort him, he smiled softly and said, "It is well." No one knew the storm brewing quietly behind that smile. A few days later, two strangers arrived in the village. They wore clean clothes and carried fine bags. They asked for Chike, and when they found him, they knelt down to greet him. The villagers were shocked. Strangers kneeling before the humble carpenter? Chike greeted them warmly and led them to his small hut. The people watched curiously as the men carried a wooden box inside. 4 hours, no one knew what was happening inside that hut. Even Adiz, who used to shout, stayed quiet that day, her curiosity burning like fire. That evening, when Chike finally came out, he called the village elders together. He opened the wooden box the men brought and revealed bundles of documents and an old golden necklace. Then he said quietly, "I am the rightful heir to the late Chief Obi's fortune." The chief was my father. The villagers gasped. The same man Adiz had called a beggar was actually the only son of one of the wealthiest men who ever lived in their land. The secret had been hidden for years because Chike had chosen to live a simple life, to learn humility before wealth. When Adiz heard the truth, her legs trembled. The same man she had mocked for wearing torn clothes was a man of great inheritance. She couldn't look him in the eye. Her pride melted away like wax in the sun. That night, she cried in silence. "How could I have insulted the man the gods themselves have blessed?" she whispered to herself. But Chike said nothing cruel. He only looked at her with sad eyes and said, "Respect costs nothing, but once lost, it can cost everything." The next morning, the village square was full. Everyone wanted to hear more about Chike's story. He stood before them, dressed in the same old clothes, holding his carpenter's hammer. He smiled gently and said, "I will not change who I am. I will still serve this village, not with gold, but with love." The villagers were deeply moved. Even the toughest men wiped their eyes. They had never seen such humility in a man with power. And from that day, they called him Chike the Wise. Adiz could not bear the weight of her shame. For days, she refused to eat, staying indoors. Then, one morning, she came out and knelt before her husband in front of the entire village. Tears rolled down her face as she said, "My husband, forgive me. I did not see the value in your heart." Chike lifted her up and said softly, "A wise person learns, and the foolish one repeats. You have learned, and that is enough." The crowd clapped. It was a moment that touched every soul present. After that day, Adiz changed completely. She became humble and kind, treating everyone, especially her husband, with love and respect. She joined him in helping the poor and feeding children in need. Together, they became examples of forgiveness and humility in Umuaka. The village elders often told their story to young couples, saying, "If pride lives in your home, peace will run away. But if humility enters, blessings will stay forever." Years later, when Chike passed away peacefully in his sleep, the entire village mourned as if they had lost a father. Even people from neighboring villages came to pay their respects. His life had touched everyone who crossed his path. Adiz stood beside his resting place, tears in her eyes, whispering, "You taught me what true love means." From that day on, the people of Umuaka remembered Chike's name, not for his hidden wealth, but for the power of his humility.